What's up, Middle Georgia Dog Pound? Welcome to another edition of the Middle Georgia Dog Pound Live. I'm your host, Brian. My co-host, Matt. Kevin, what's up, guys?
What's up, buddy?
How we doing?
Doing great, doing great. 4-0, my friends. 4-0. We are a third of the way through the season. It seems like we just started yesterday. Don't know where the time has gone, but the weather is cool outside. All is right in the world now, and we can move forward with keep it on to the next game here and make sure the Dogs go 5-0. That's all we are worried about. We ain't worried about nothing else, not looking ahead. We got to get through Missouri to get to the Auburn game. So let's get into this thing. What do you say?
Let's do it.
So a few housekeeping tidbits before we get going here. As you know, if this is your first time on the show, we definitely want to hear your comments. Please, if you're using the Facebook platform, go to StreamYard.com/Facebook to give StreamYard permission to show your comment and photo on the screen. Definitely want to get your comments. Already got one from Mr. Khaki. Go Dogs. That's what I love to see. Glad to see you back, John. And not to forget this, if you have a product or an item that you want to promote on our show, hit us up at middlegeorgiadogpound@gmail.com. That's middle, G-A, dog spelled like it should be, D-A-W-G, pound@gmail.com. All right, so obviously we were all enthralled with the Kent State Golden Flashes. Made a big deal about it. I think we all got in and we all drank a little bit of the Kool-Aid because I did not expect Kent State to score 22 points. What did you guys think? Let me, hey, before we do that, let's just roll those highlights and then we'll get into it.
It is time to tee it up between the hedges. Second 10, jet sweep to Bowers. Here he comes, 30, 35, 40, near sideline 50s. He got the juice. You bet he does. 30, 20, 10. Touchdown. They shift a little bit. Punt formation. We come after it and block it in the end zone. Javon Walker. Dogs get a safety out of the Javon Walker blocked punt. See, the freshman from Salisbury, North Carolina, got it easily. And the ball goes bouncing out of the back of the end zone, and Georgia now leads it 9-3. He handed it off to Bowers on the jet sweep to the right. He got in there to the corner. Oh, a little misdirection. We had everything big in the backfield. They just sneak it to Brock Bowers running from left to right across the line of scrimmage. A quick handoff, and he angles into the corner for his second touchdown of the afternoon.
Turning it up, turning it up, yeah, go, the trees.
Looks to throw, gonna keep it, dodges a man, reaches across the goal line.
Look me deep in my eyes, you really wanna go and spare with me? How can I make you better?
There you go.
Break no sweat,
He runs it up to the 10, the 15, he spins, and he is absolutely assaulted by Keely Ringo.
I'm right on the floor, I'm seizing the moment and knocking his dome, the champion is home, yeah.
And Ladd makes a rolling, tumbling catch at the Kent State 35 on their sideline.
That was one heck of a catch and a great ball, too.
Moment of silence, ain't no more sound.
The kick by Jack Podlesny is up and good.
Turning it up, hey, we'll fight at a time.
Edwards to get the first down. He's got it. He breaks free at the 40, 35, 33. They tug him down right there.
Podium, retrieving the crowd that was on her, bringing the heat like a sauna. I wear the bell like an armor, death before dishonor. I said he trying to
Dogs breaking quickly, I formation. Alexander the full, Milton the tail, runs in there behind Bear, and touchdown. Kendall Milton got half his body across the plane, and the ball was in there with it. lead. Drops back on the 15. Moves to his right. Throws a deep ball right to our guy. Intercepted by Christopher Smith around the 24. Just got to run out of bounds and give it back to the offense.
I ain't done with the shine. I'm all in my zone. I'm all in control. I'm whipping the sauce, no matter the cost.
The Dogs are able to grind one out here at home against Kent State to make it 39-22, the final.
Yeah, definitely did not expect that. Did not expect us to have to grind one out there, and especially at home. I mean, it was unbelievable to me. It just blew me away. I'm sitting there in the stands, baking in the sun, turning into the beat of all red beets, and I'm thinking, what in the world did I get myself into? This is not what I came to watch. I came to watch my third string offense and third string defense out there play, and our guys, the starters, basically had to play the entire game. So, Matt, tell me what you thought as you were watching this game. What was going through your head, man?
Well, it's kind of frustrating. When I first watched it, watching the game was really frustrating to see that how much the defense was not as impactful as I would thought they were going to be. As I rewatched it the next day and kind of went back and looked, the score did not reflect, honestly, how dominant our team actually was on the field. Y'all would say that sounds crazy, but if you go back and watch the game again and you see how they scored, a lot of their scores and then moved the ball was mainly on a one big play. It was a one big run play, that pass play, or it was a one big run play, or it was something like the interception. So like that was what really got them in the field position. It wasn't like they were grinding the ball down the field on us and just, they had one drive where they did that. I'll be honest. They had one drive that towards the end of the game where they did a methodical drive down the field. Other than that, they were not like, first down. Go look at the stats. I mean, we had double the yards they did. We ultimately killed ourselves. If we watched that game, the offense didn't get stopped. We killed ourselves. We fumbled the ball twice. We threw an interception. Once again, we didn't punt again. It just tells you our offense is moving the ball. Same thing happened with Sanford. Didn't put it in the end zone for some reason versus we had other teams. So, I mean, I don't know the schemes of what the Kirby and them were doing. I'm not sure we just didn't get up for the game or what it may be, but it was not the team that I was expecting to see come in there and blow out Kent State like I thought. But we saw a team, though, from Kent State who doesn't give up. Saw a team from Kent State who's already played two tough games already, playing Oklahoma and Washington, who before last week were, both of them are, I think Washington's still undefeated. So they played tough games beforehand. When we've been playing some cupcakes, they have been playing tough, grind out games, and they gave it to us. They said they were ready. And so I think it's a good thing it happened.
So do you buy the whole notion from Kirby that this Kent State is a really good team? I mean that's how he's trying to spin it. Are you buying that?
I am looking at it from the standpoint that I would compare them to the UAB of last year we played. We played UAB last year, and they were supposed to be a good team, and we beat the crap out of them out at home. But if you go back and watch that UA team, they won 10 games last year. So I think the chances that this Kent State team goes into their conference play and dominates their conference is very highly going to happen. I think this team is built with a bunch of transfers. A lot of guys on that team, you look at that roster, they had tons of players from Georgia on that team. That team's from Ohio, and they had tons of Georgia players there. We know how that is when people come back home and want to play hard and show this Georgia team, why didn't you recruit me? Why didn't you come after me? And they play balls out the entire time. So I think this team is a decent team. I see them probably, if not winning their conference, second or pretty close to winning the conference that they're in. So I think they're better than what people are saying that we think that they are.
Kevin, do you think Georgia got exposed this weekend?
Yeah, I think they got exposed for not being prepared. I think they got exposed for playing down to their opponent. This is one of those games where I think, like you were saying, I think these guys were still asleep. They were thinking about that party that they were going to after this game. And I think these guys that they had a wake. Honestly, I think this is probably the best thing that could have happened to them is get a wake up call with a team that's like Kent State, where you can beat them not playing your best ball, and you get that wake up call, and you're like, oh well, we got to bring it week in and week out. We can't just take things for granted, and that we're just going to walk in there and they're just going to lay down because we're the number one team in the land. But yeah, I think they did get exposed. Exposed a lot of things to themselves, really, what they need to go back and work on, and mentality that needs to be corrected.
Yep, I totally agree. Matt, what do you say to the folks that have hit the panic button?
I think it's irrational. I mean, that's to me, it's not very logical to already hit the panic button. I mean, I know it's saying it's just a one game synopsis or snapshot of what we're even going to have. I think a lot of things you talked about. Think about these guys' heads weren't in the game. Sometimes heart. These guys had a lot of heart and grit, and that sometimes will make you be better, week to week than people does with skill. But once again, I think like Kevin, just reiterate from what Kevin said as well. I think it's a good wake up call for him. But I don't think no one should hit the panic button. Now, if we see this continuing moving forward, like we're seeing teams put 20 points on us every week, then yeah, we need to. Then here comes where that defense is not as good as we thought they are. And that's something else we'll go into later on. I guess one more of your questions that we got. But yeah, I don't think there's no reason to hit the panic button just yet. I think we just had a sloppy game. And sloppy game, we still dominated them. So you say how you want to say. We still kept the team under 100 yards rushing, and they had less than 200 yards passing. So that's still a pretty dominant defense, no matter how you put it. When it just didn't feel like it on the scoreboard.
So, Kevin, I know Ladd McConkey is your guy, man. I know you talk about him a lot. This is probably the worst game I've seen Ladd McConkey play. Do you have any concerns going forward with him?
I don't. I think that he is his work ethic is going to take him back to square one. He's go back and look at film, look at where his mistakes were. I think it's one of those deals where I was listening to Jake Fromm earlier this week, and he was saying that every player and every team is going to have that one bad game. And I'm just grateful that it's a team that we played in Kent State with that one bad game, because I honestly don't think that Ladd is going to let this happen again. You saw it on the field. He was totally distraught with himself when he dropped passes, when he fumbled the ball. He was, basically coaching himself up, beating himself up on the sideline that he let his team down. I think that's just the type of player he is. I think he realizes his mistakes, and I don't think you'll see him again. I think you're going to see a actually juiced up, more dynamic player, more in tune with what he's supposed to do, and you will see very, very few mistakes from him for the rest of the season.
Well, Matt, what positives can you take away from this game? I mean, I know we talk a lot. We like to hit as humans. We like to hit on the most adverse things that we can find in the game. But what things did you take away as positives from this game?
I was
too hard.
I was really honestly and still impressed with and we talked about earlier about the leadership from Nolan Smith. That Joker didn't give up. Even other guys around him may have not been as focused as they should have been. He was still, all over the field, making plays, trying to get them boosted up. And so I was impressed with that. I was impressed with the commitment to run the ball some more in this game than we have in the past. We have a lot more efficient runs, and I mean to take away Bauer's big time run. Those running backs had more time. They were running these little 7-8 yard gashes, which is really good for us. That's really going to open our offense up even more if we can continue that to happen. It's not the running backs of the past where once they got past the linebackers, they were gone. I mean, the Michelle and Gurley and and Chubb and Swift days where once they got to the secondary, they were gone. These guys aren't that kind of speed like we've had in the past like that, but it's good to see them finally hitting some of these holes a little faster, getting their vision back a little bit better. Even though it was with Kent State, they still got in there because that defensive lineman for Kent State, West, he was everywhere. That joker was playing like he was playing for the NFL. I mean, I'm good for the guy. I mean, I'm glad he's really committing himself to the game, didn't give up, and they were still running the ball pretty well on them.
Well, I know you were talking about Nolan Smith's leadership. And I wrote this down. I mean, last week South Carolina scored a touchdown against us, and you would have thought that the world came to an end when it comes to Nolan Smith, but yet we turn around and let Kent State score 22 points. I mean, are we missing something with our leadership, or is he the only one that's out there being the leader, you think?
No, I think Chris Smith's a leader as well out there. I really just think our youth showed up on defense this time. If you go back and watch that game, I know he's a sophomore, but Lasser was he was locked. I mean, he was getting pushed all over the field. He couldn't get off of blocks, and he was missing tackles. And then same thing with Starks.
Yeah,
missing tackles. He's wearing some kind of hand brace or as a soft cast or something on his hand. So I'm not sure if that affected any of it. But those guys look like freshmen out there. And so I think some of that had to do with it. I mean, they weren't like, they've been showing, but definitely for me, the Lasker looked at his poorest game as well. I mean, like a Conkey kind of game, looked very out of sorts, confused, and didn't know where he was going. Our linebackers didn't shoot their gaps like they should have as well. There was pressure on the quarterback. But ultimately, once again, they still held them a lot. I think Kevin talked about it before the show. That first few quarters, and their defense was dominant. I think we scored so fast, so quick. The defense was so dominant, even after the muff punt. I mean, they thought this game was over with no matter what, and they kind of just started coasting, and it came back to bite them in the second quarter.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that Jalen Carter, with missing Jalen Carter on the field, typically you got two guys that are blocking him, which allows our linebackers to hit those gaps, and there just wasn't any. And it showed up in the running game for Kent State. I mean, they gashed us over and over and over. So we got to get him back. He's a key piece to the defensive line. That is for sure. Let's hit some of these comments before I forget here. Hunter Ivy says, I love McDonkey, but he must have partied with the Kool-Aid man all night. Yep, we said the same thing, but it wasn't the Kool-Aid man we thought he partied with. He has a cute girlfriend.
I agree with what the else Hunter says here. Mizzou better watch out because Lad's fixing to have the game of his life.
Yep, totally agree.
I hate to keep banging on him, but I've never seen a player in any single game have a bad game like that.
Yeah.
I've seen guys drop passes or have fumbles and stuff, but to have that many bad things happen to you in one single game, I was almost embarrassed for him. Like I wanted to go give him a hug, right?
Yeah.
So I've never seen anything like that before. So I think like Kevin's right, it's going to be a one and done, and he'll be back on par here soon.
So Hunter says, no need to panic or worry. This will be a wake-up call for the boys, and the dogs are better than that. I totally agree. And he says, hopefully the Kent State game will be a swift kick in the butt, and these guys realize if they don't play the UGA standards, they can be beat. Yeah, we said that. We were talking the same thing, Hunter. Thank God we were playing Kent State and not, Florida or, Mississippi State or somebody like that who could have just throttled us when we made those types of mistakes. So totally agree.
I think Matt touched on this before. This is a product of their youth. I think their youth was their downfall in this game. These guys don't have, we are missing that. And this game showed it. We're missing how many guys went into the draft this past year. We were missing them. They knew you can't take anything lightly. You have to go out and play every game like it's the last one. And these guys have come in and just, they started playing with that standard at the beginning of the year, and now it's like they feel like this is just going to come to us. They're just going to give it to us. And that's a product of youth. You just get that lacks attitude, lacks mentality. You lose your focus because you're just young and you think you're better than the next guy that's standing in front of you. And what they don't realize is the next guy in front of you wants to prove that they're better than you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Yeah.
they were feeling some of that on Saturday.
Yeah,
And
I totally
they
agree.
go out and get drunk and party and get in trouble.
Exactly.
Yep. That just shows you where the priority is. That's for sure. Well, let's see. Do you guys feel like that maybe we should be using Dejon Edwards more than what we are? I mean, I like Kendall Milton, but it seems like all you got to do is just grab him by the shoestrings and he's going down. I don't feel that way about Dejon Edwards. I mean, I feel like he runs violent. He hits the holes, and then once he hits the holes, he breaks tackles. It seems like to me, Kendall Milton, and I hate to bang on the kid, but he just hesitates. Every single time you put the ball in his hands, it's 2 steps and wait. And I know that might be their training. That might be how they're but I mean, I remember seeing James Cook do the same thing in years past. Now, last year I don't remember him doing it as much, but in years past he would do 2-step stutter and then, get creamed. And I'm like, dude, you just got to hit the hole and go, And I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at things wrong. And I know I don't know anything about football, and we're just doing this for fun. But every time Dejon Edwards gets out there, it seems like he is running with a purpose, and he's going to hit somebody and hit somebody hard.
Yeah, it makes you wonder where he stands. And is it a playbook issue? Do you not know enough of the playbook? Are you not as versed in the amount of plays that are called, or what? Because he does, to me, he does look like he runs with more power. And maybe that's not what it is in practice. Maybe Milton is firing through the holes in practice, and then he just gets in the game and just gets those in-game jitters. But you would think that if that continues to happen, that they would make a change. But like you said,
when it comes down to a true running back, he is our number one true running back. You put the ball in that guy's hand.
Dejon?
Yes.
Yeah. Dejon runs with a vengeance.
Yes. And I just don't see that from the other two guys.
I would disagree.
Well,
I think your best running back.
Well, that's why we got us all on here, so somebody can disagree with us. We can't all agree.
Yep.
Right. I think McIntosh is. I mean, I think if he didn't even have the passing game, he would still be your number one running back. And you watch those games; he only had like 4 carries last game, and all the 4 of those carries were like 6, 7, 8 yards. And he was running hard and running quick. And I agree with you. Dejon has a quickness about him. His top end speed is not there. He's not going to outrun a safety. He's not going to do that. But you said, you're right. Aggressiveness, vision, he has that. Milton's problem to me is that, he has that strength. And you're right. Someone grabs a shoelace and he falls down every time. It feels like it is. But Milton's thing is that he wants to always run up the middle or run around that tackle. Mm-hmm. He has too many times where if he goes around that tight end on the outside, he is gone.
Yep.
He's trying to cut it back to offset those the defensive backs or whatever, secondary coming across, cutting off their angles by cutting back on them. But he just needs to keep going outside and gaining those yards. And
is that a product? Sorry, Matt. Is that a product of his injuries where he missed so much time? His just inexperience of being in a game. You think that's just showing?
I don't know. Last year, some of his biggest runs when he eventually got outside on it. I just don't think he trusts himself to get outside. So maybe your answer to your question is yes. I don't think he trusts his speed to get outside. But we see once he starts going, he has the speed. He just has to build, like I said, Brian said, he doesn't build up that speed from the running. It's that delayed handoff, and he hesitates to wait for the hole to open. And he's not like Dejon, who can squeeze through those little small gaps and hide between those tackles and the guards. He's a big body. He's like I said, he reminds me of Richard Samuel, this huge running back who needs to play linebacker.
Yeah.
All right. One more question before we get off the Kent State bandwagon and move forward. after 4 games, what concerns do you have of this team?
Youth. That's
Matt?
mine.
Just the youth?
Yeah.
Lassiter. Lassiter in the star position now, because now we're going into our third stringer on star position.
Yeah, that was my next question is who replaces Bullard now?
I mean, I don't know. I'm guessing hopefully does it Tyke Smith will eventually be healthy enough to get in there and play. I don't know. Maybe one of these freshmen who's played pretty well. I think was it Everton? How's his name? Evert, the new freshman came in.
Yeah.
I mean, he plays the corner, but he's been playing the best out of all the other freshmen so far.
I
don't know. I don't know what the answer is. They have a solution for it. They got.
It would not surprise me to see him move Chris Smith up, to be honest with you, and then bring Tyke, put him at corner, and then put Starks back there as safety, and then move Dan Jackson over into Chris Smith's spot. That's really what I expect to happen, but it would surprise me. For you guys that don't know, if you hadn't been watching the news, Javon Bullard got arrested on I guess it was on Saturday night after the game, Sunday morning.
Sunday morning.
Yeah, 3:00 in the morning. He was drinking underage. He wasn't really drunk, but if you drink underage and you drive, you're going to be arrested for DUI. So he was driving without his headlights on, had his cell phone up to his ear. They just threw the book at him like they do in Athens Clark. They just throw the book at the football players, and they do it to everybody. It's not just the football players. They don't discriminate. If you're a student at UGA, you're going to get every charge you can possibly get thrown at you. So good rule of thumb is just don't be out after midnight, and then you don't run into those issues. So, well, guys, any final thoughts on the Kent State game before we flush it down the toilet with old Kool-Aid Man?
Nope.
I think we beat that drum enough.
Yep, I totally agree. Well, let's get into the Missouri game. What do you say? Let's roll them highlights.
You go on the road in the SEC, it's always tough. I think going to Columbia, Missouri has been an adventure. I think every time we've been up there, you get in these hard-fought battles.
Here he goes, 10, 5, 3, pylon. Georgia's running the other way with the football. Tyson Campbell's going to go all the way into the end zone. Pitch to McIntosh, right side.
They're going to play you tough. They're going to play you physical.
Just a huge atmosphere of any SEC East opponent or any away game in the SEC. A lot of intensity throughout the whole situation, especially being in that game.
It's one of those games that we got to really lock in. It's really hard. You got to be locked in and dialed into your job. We want to put our head down, get back to work, and get ready to play this upcoming Saturday.
Coming with the exact same standard that we want to continue to be successful and continue to climb to get to where we want to be.
Good deal. I always love the game highlight, the game trailers that the production crew puts together. It's a lot of fun to watch those. Just wish they would drop the one with the voiceover earlier in the week so we could show it on the show, but it is what it is. So Columbia, Missouri, 2 reasons why I like Columbia, Missouri. Number one, my wife's grandparents are from that area. And then number 2, my favorite NASCAR driver is from Columbia, Missouri, old Carl Edwards. So like talking about Columbia. But, of course, you guys know the coach is Elijah Drinkwitz, and everybody calls him Eli, and he hates it. If you don't know that already, catch some of his press conferences. He'll tell you that he is not Eli; he's Elijah. You guys haven't met this guy. He is considered one of the best offensive minds in football. I have not seen that yet, but he is considered that. So it's going to be interesting to see what he can do with Missouri. course, you guys know, and we're going to cover him a little bit later, that Luther Burden that Georgia went after last year really, really hard, and they drafted him. They were able to not draft him. They were able to sign him. That was the highlight of their, I think it was their 2021 class, maybe? Is that what it was? So, or was it 2022 class? Okay, 2022 class. So, yeah. So, obviously, he came from Appalachian State. Had one season over there, and I don't really think that he was all that great over there. But before that, he was at NC State as the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. Was at NC State for about 4 years, I think. And NC State, always seems to have a pretty good offense, no matter who is directing that program. So I did a little digging on the mascot. So Mizzou also has a tiger. We play so many teams with tiger mascots, we can't keep up with them. LSU has a tiger. Clemson has a tiger. Auburn has a tiger. Mizzou has a tiger. The Mizzou Tiger's name is Truman. The name came because of a 1984 contest held by the cheerleaders, and that's how they decided what the name of the tiger was. But he looks pretty weird, in my opinion. But the only other tiger that looks any worse is the Clemson tiger. Kind of scary. That looks like something you have nightmares about.
Like a cracked out cat.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Matt, take it away, man. Tell us a little bit about the Missouri offense, what we need to expect.
All right, so we have their starting quarterback here. His name is Bradley Cook. He's thrown for 805 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. He also does rush the ball sometimes, too, for them. He's got 150-plus yards rushing for them. So that's a good, decent amount for a quarterback who's mainly as a passer for their school. He didn't have any rushing yards last week, so that tells you the majority of that rushing ability came in the first 3 games. So he has some legs on him, I guess we'd say Bennett does. So he's a very middle of the grade average quarterback. He's a sophomore, so he's still learning some of the offense for himself as well. Then we got there are 2 running backs we have. We got first one is Nathaniel Pete, which is their main guy. He's got the most yards for them. It's 225 yards. And he has 1 rushing touchdown and 1 receiving touchdown. Not a whole lot of receiving yards. Only like about 49 actually receiving yards. So not a lot there with that, but he still is a weapon also at the backfield on the passing game. He's a senior, like his counterpart as well. The other running back they have who helps share the carries as well there, which is Cody. He is also a senior running back. He's got about 173 yards rushing. He has more touchdowns with three touchdowns in so far this season. So they're pretty balanced offense when it comes to how they produce their yardage. Like I said, not a whole bunch of yards either way, or passing or running, but pretty balanced as well. And here's their receiver they have. This is Dominic Lovett. Sorry, apologize. And so he is right now. He has like 376 yards and 2 touchdowns so far this year. He is the number 1 receiver in the SEC for yardage. You would never have guessed that, but he has. He is cranking over 100 yards per game. If you watched the game last week, he's the one who put them in the opportunity to. They should have won the game with that back shoulder fade that he caught on the sideline down there by the 5-yard line. So I mean, he's not super big. I think he's around 6 foot tall. About 200 pounds. He's not a huge wide receiver, but has really excellent hands and his ability to get his body in the right areas to make some good, pretty good catches. So he will be a weapon that we will have to keep a tab on. The other guy we have up here as well is someone Brian just talked about a little bit ago, Luther Burden the third. I guess you care about that kind of stuff. He is actually questionable for this game. He doesn't have a whole lot of yards receiving right now. I think he's around 70-ish yards, 78 yards, 1 touchdown. He's got 1 touchdown rushing and 1 touchdown receiving. Not a huge display of his talent so far, but this is a guy that everybody went after. Like Brian said, we went after him hard. Alabama did, Clemson did, Ohio State did. He was the number 1 receiver in the country, the number 3 overall player in the country. So everybody wanted this guy, but he decided to stay home in Missouri and play for his home team. But you can't fault the guy for that. The only thing I fault for him is his common sense and picking a quarterback to be his quarterback who's not very good. So, but he's questionable for the game. If he does get in the game, he does a lot of different things. He rushes the ball, he receives, he does special teams. He's usually all over the field. He's their Swiss Army knife, if you want to say it by that means. So ultimately, the offense is not super electric, but they can move the ball if they need to. They're very well balanced, and they'll be at home. So with a good home crowd, the number 1 team coming to town, it should be pretty rowdy for them when it comes time for their offense to be on the field.
Yeah, I totally agree. So looking at the weather, it looks like the high for that day is supposed to be 76 degrees. I think that's going to be great game time. Obviously, there won't be any humidity there in Columbia, but should be great weather for football. 76 degrees for the high, 48 for the low.
It'll probably be closer to 50 highs of 50s by the time the game starts at 7.
That's right.
So
That's
maybe
right.
about 5 degrees. Oh, I love it, y'all. I love the.
Yep, it's going to be great football weather. Kevin, you got the defense, man. What you got?
Yeah, I was touch on a couple of guys here that stood out to me. One is Tyron Hopper. He's a junior linebacker, 6'2", 224. This guy is a transfer from Florida, so he is accustomed to playing the Dogs on a regular basis. Probably going to know the ins and outs, seen them before, seen it time and time again. This guy is pretty dynamic. He has 26 tackles on the year with 2 sacks and an interception. He is also the leading tackler on this team, and he had a huge game against Auburn this past week with 10 tackles. As you've watched this guy is flying all over the field. Pretty dynamic linebacker in his own right, and pretty sure he transferred out of Florida to kind of be seen. But you're going to have to watch out for this guy. We're going to have to, you pretty much expect him to be a thorn in our side when it comes to the running game. He's going to fill those holes really fast when they open up. So we're going to have to put somebody on him to put a block on him if we're going to have anything to do in the running game. The other guy I noted on is Joseph Charleston. He's a junior. He's 6 foot. He's a DB, 195 pounds. He's actually from Georgia, from Milton, Georgia. And this guy is a Clemson transfer. So he's also seen the Dogs play. He was there at Clemson last year when we played him in the season opener. And he actually had 2 tackles against the Dogs in that game. He is their second leading tackler on the team. He's got 19 tackles, 1 interception, and 1 touchdown. He had 10 tackles against Auburn as well. So this guy is going to be a guy in that backfield that we're going to have to take out of the play, especially on those, deep balls or crossing routes. He's going to be there to cause a problem. Third guy is Isaiah McGuire. He is a senior defensive lineman, 6'4", 275. Last year, he started all the games for Mizzou. So this guy is well experienced. He's been there. He's seen it. In 2021, he led Missouri in sacks and had 14 tackles for loss. This year, he leads the team with 3 sacks and has 2 forced fumbles. So he's going to be a person who disrupts the line of scrimmage on a regular basis. This defense, though, is a struggle. As you can tell, it's a bunch of transfers and pieced together bits and pieces. So they're not a cohesive bunch, but I think that they're going to be well coached, and especially with this guy from Florida, they're going to know the experience with seeing the dogs and have a little insight information there. This is this video here is the interception for the touchdown. It was kind of just thrown to him.
So it's going to get better and better. So I really excited for him.
And then he had the thing that we didn't have to deal with, the NILs and the.
This is intercepted. Joseph Charleston all the way back for a touchdown.
How about that? That's awesome.
Did you know 92% of the time when defense scores a touchdown, they win the football game? So let's see if that holds true.
That's exactly right. That's an amazing stat, but it's reality of it. That's the impact that has on the team.
If you look there, the defensive lineman got in and tipped the ball. This is what we're going to have to deal with, and these defensive linemen know how to get in and disrupt the play. So we're going to have to – our offense is going to have to step up their game, keep them pushed back, keep them out of Stetson Bennett's way, and open up holes for our running game. If we can do that, we should expect another big game like we had against Oregon and in South Carolina.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, let's get into those Week 5 matchups, and let's make some predictions. What do you say?
Let's get on it.
So first up on the list, none other than the Tide against the Hogs. Kevin, what you think about this one, buddy?
This one is going to be crazy. I'm just going to tell you, they're going to be playing in Arkansas. Everybody knows Arkansas is coming off a heartbreaking loss to Texas A&M. This knocked them out of their top 10 rankings, and they're going to be wanting to make a statement in this game. If you watch the sidelines at the end of that game, those guys were in tears. You would have thought they had lost the SEC championship game. These guys were broke down, just distraught that they lost this game. And I think that's going to say something. I think that's going to mean something to them to come back, especially going into this game with Alabama. And we know Alabama's riding high because they went in and beat Vanderbilt. Like that's somebody. So I think this is going to be a throwdown. It's going to be a full-on offensive battle. But I think that this is going to be one of those times where Arkansas's defense steps up and plays. I think they're going to take a page out of Texas' book because Texas kind of exposed Alabama on what they need to do. I don't think that's going to be lost on Sam Pittman. I've got Arkansas winning this game in a close one, 41-39.
Woo! Matt? What you think, Matt?
I am also going to make it short and sweet. I'm going to go the opposite way. I'm going to pick Alabama to win, even though it makes me sick to my stomach. I don't think Arkansas's defense is as good as they were last year. I think we've seen that this year when allowing teams like South Carolina to come back on them and a very anemic offense like Texas A&M has to come, to eventually win the game as well. I think even though they're at home and I want them to win a lot, I think Alabama is going to shut down their run game and force him to pass, and you're going to see their Achilles heel. So I think Alabama's going to win the game. I'm not sure about the score, to be honest with you. I think Alabama wins by 10 points.
Cool. Yeah, I'm on the fence with this one, man. I just don't. If you'd asked me 2 weeks ago, would Arkansas win this? I would have said heck yeah. But after Alabama's performance against Vanderbilt, I know that Vanderbilt's nobody, but their offense was firing on all eight, man. And I just don't see that that Arkansas has the defense to slow down Alabama's offense. And for that reason, I'm going to go with the Tide on this one. I think they're going to easily win it, maybe by 2 touchdowns.
See, I knew y'all were going to both go with Alabama, so I had to be different.
Yeah, right. No worries. No worries. All right. Ole Miss. Kentucky versus Ole Miss. Let me hear you, Matt, first. Go.
I mean, is Ole Miss the Jekyll and Hyde so far this year? Like, they look like world beaters in one game, and they look very lethargic, and they go back to looking really good, and they're very lethargic. I don't know. I'm not super impressed yet with Kentucky. I know everybody loves Kentucky. They love their quarterback. I'm still not impressed yet with their quarterback and their team themselves. I want Arkansas. I'm sorry. I want Kentucky to win it. I really do, because I just don't like Lane Kiffin. So I'm going to pick Kentucky from my heart, not from my head, and say Kentucky wins it by 3 points.
Cool. I like it. Kevin, what you think, buddy?
Well, this is going to be the first ranked team that Ole Miss has played all season. But also Kentucky's coming off a struggle win 3 weeks ago in Florida. It's 26-16, and a struggle win against Northern Illinois, 31-23. I think this is going to be a low-scoring game per se, and I think that Kentucky is going to end up pulling it out and win in the end, probably by like a touchdown. I got them like 28-21, Kentucky.
I got you. Yeah, I think Kentucky can pull this off, and the reason I say that is their defensive line is just dominant, and so I think because of that, I think I'm going to go with Kentucky, but look for Lane Kiffin to pull out all the stops in this thing and make it close. So I'm going to go with Kentucky by 3, but it's going to be a close one. It's going to be a knockdown drag out, that's for sure.
Wouldn't surprise me either way.
Yep, absolutely.
Do we have any predictions off the last 2 games for anybody else?
Just Hunter Ivy. He says Ole Miss wins 34-28.
He also said Arkansas was going to win 38-35.
Yep, he sure did. 38-35. But I think the Ole Miss and Kentucky game is going to be closer than that. But I could be wrong. Well, Kevin, what you think about the NC State Clemson game?
The one that no SEC fan really cares anything about, but I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a unbalanced game for the most of it. I think that it's going to probably NC State's going to probably jump out to a lead, and they're going to let Clemson kind of creep back in. But I mean, if you look back, NC State's biggest game they played so far is Texas Tech, and they barely beat Texas Tech 27-14. Clemson's biggest test was Wake Forest, and that was a win for them, 51-45. So this is going to be just kind of a throwdown, and honestly, it took me I just threw in the hat and tried to pick a winner on this one. I think NC State's going to win 32-21.
I like it. Matt, what you think, buddy?
I'll go with Clemson's defense and say Clemson wins it by 10 points.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with NC State on this one. I think they're going to figure out a way to take care of DJ. We messed it all up, Ungale. He is going to crumble in this game, and I think his true colors are going to show, and they're basically going to have to bring in the backup quarterback after this game and make a change. They got to, and they barely pulled it off last week. I don't know how they won it last week, but you can only win so many games by the skin of your teeth, and I don't think that they can do it. I think NC State wins this one, and I think NC State wins it big. I'm going to go 2 touchdowns on NC State. I think they take care of Clemson and become the juggernaut in the ACC.
If you can even phrase it that way for being in the ACC.
That's right. Hunter Ivy says, "Sweet baby Jesus, please let NC State win. My hate for all Tigers run deep." I love it. I love it. All right. Let's get to the next one here. LSU versus Auburn. Matt, what you think?
Speaking of the Tigers, Auburn is complete trash. So LSU will win this game, even though I can't stand Brian Kelly. LSU will win this game, I think, substantially. I say LSU wins it by 17 points because ultimately that team has given up on that coach. They were lucky to win last week, and they know it. And I think they're just gonna try to escape out this 5th straight home game. And I think LSU wins it.
Yeah, I totally agree. LSU's definitely going to take this one. Auburn has got to be the luckiest freaking team in the world, man. I mean, I don't know how they pulled that one off, but just absolutely lucky. Kevin, what you got, buddy?
I kind of agree with both of you. I mean, LSU's coming after their opening loss to FSU. They've begun to right the ship. You might say wins over Southern University 65-17, Mississippi State 31-16, and New Mexico 38-0. And then Auburn's coming off of a struggle win against Missouri 17-14. Auburn's struggling to find traction, and I think Harsin is just sitting there waiting to be fired so he can collect that check, and he doesn't really care what happens to that program, to be honest with you. He's just putting on a facade. So I got LSU winning big 36-17.
Cool. Yeah, I'm with you. I think LSU wins big on this one too. And I honestly thought Brian Harsin would be fired by the time that he came to Georgia, but now I'm not really so sure. I hadn't kind of changed my tune on that one a little bit, but he is definitely a lame duck coach, that's for sure. That is for sure. All right, and the game that we all want to talk about, well, here's a prediction before we get into that. Let's see. Hunter Ivy says Auburn is by far the worst team in the conference. LSU wins big 45-13. I like it. The game we all want to talk about is the Dogs versus Tigers. Matt, what you got on your prediction, buddy?
So I'm going to go with the Georgia Bulldogs. So my prediction, really, I think we're going to get back on track. I think the defense is going to have some first quarter ground to kind of get in the mood and get where they're at. I think we may see Missouri have a few first downs in the first quarter. But I think the Georgia gains traction second quarter, the rest of the game. I'm going with 41-10 Georgia Bulldogs.
Wow. Big number. So you think Georgia covers the 28?
Yes, I think the offense will be back on. No one has stopped the offense yet. The only people that have stopped the offense is ourselves. I think we're going to score points. I think once against SEC game, they know it means something. It has purpose. The offense is going to be on full throttle. They don't have any parties to go to afterwards. They will be ready to go at that 7:30 opening, and they are going to be ready to embarrass this team. Because they all believed in the hype when it came in, right? They're number one team. They're the best team that ever existed. Everybody keeps saying all these great things. Listen to the media, and we did the same thing. We spent half the show last week just making fun of Kent State. Look what they did. That's on us too, right?
Drinking the Kool-Aid.
And so, I mean, we think they're always great, but we're Georgia fans. I mean, we're biased, right? But they see that, and now they're hearing, oh, Georgia's not that great anymore. Maybe they shouldn't be number one anymore. And so now they got to go out and prove something. And I think they're going to make a statement with this game. Yes, they may score 10 points, or maybe less than that. I'm saying 10, but they're still going to beat them by 30 points. And it won't matter.
Kevin, what you think, buddy?
It's one of those deals that it's kind of sad when you what was that, like a 17-point win that we had? Is that right? I got the score right. Anyway, it's sad when we don't think that that's a big win, even though it was against Kent State and it should have been a blowout. Still a good win. The more I looked around the media, the Georgia fans were the ones that were the biggest biggest ones to talk down on this program to say they shouldn't be number one. The media, everywhere I looked, said this program is still number one. They're still the elite team that everybody thinks they are. And until somebody beats the champ, they should still be the champ. But anyway, I digress. This team right here, they're going to go into Missouri. They have no distractions. They're not going to be in Athens. Like Matt said, they're not going to have any parties to go to afterwards. They're going to be focused. I think Stetson Bennett said it the best last week. He said this team was asleep. He said nobody was awake for this game. And I think it showed. We all saw it. This is going to be the team that we saw play in Oregon. This is going to be the team that we saw playing in South Carolina. They're going to go in and take Missouri to task. The offense is going to be firing on all cylinders. I don't think you're going to see those same careless mistakes that you saw, especially from McConkey. He's going to be dialed in, ready to go. Of course, it seems like always every game Brock Bowers is dialed in, ready to go. You never see him slip up one time, and I'm going to knock on some wood.
Yes, I was just fit to say that, please.
Knock on some wood. That way that doesn't happen, and I got my dog barking in the background for it.
Miley.
Yep. And so I think this is going to be a blowout win. I've got the Dogs winning big, 42-6.
I like it. Well, I was going to say this around the same thing. I think the Dogs blow them out too. I was going to go 45-6, but yeah, we're definitely coming out to make a statement. There's going to be correction time, and we're going to drop the hammer on Missouri and come out with a big win. Any final thoughts before we get out of here, guys? Matt, you got anything?
No, I mean, I'm just ready. I'm ready to watch a night game. I love watching night games. I wish it was in Athens, but it is what it is. I love to see some more predictions out there for this game. I haven't seen any from any other people watching. So if you got a prediction, I'd love to hear what yours are as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Ken Lalonde says he's going 45-3 Dogs. Hunter Ivy says, thank God we won't have a 12 o'clock kickoff. Kirby is pissed the team is pissed after last week's performance. UGA wins huge 51-3. Kirby has cut the Kool-Aid off. Yeah, we definitely need to cut that fountain machine off. That is for dang sure, because I drank a lot of it. But yeah, Kevin, you got any final thoughts, bud?
No, I think I about shared mine, but I think that you've seen the end of the woes, the lackadaisical attitude when they come out. I think that they have figured out that you cannot come out and just wait for somebody to lay down and let you win the game. And like I said, that's just a product of youth. And I think that, I read something that John Akaki said earlier this week. This is a product of these guys. We're in, what is this, week 5 we're in? These guys have never worked this hard in their lives. And he said, these are all young guys that are going to class. They're having to go every day to practice. They barely have any time to eat or sleep, and it's starting to show. And I think that it's a product of scheduling and figuring out your schedule. And I think that they'll get it dialed in after this wake-up call that they had this past week.
Yep, totally agree. Well, guys, great show. Glad to have everybody on. Looking forward to getting in there to Missouri, going into Columbia, grabbing that Tiger by the tail, pulling him on back to Athens with a big win. Hey, guys, if you don't know, if you have a friend, family member that loves the Dogs, invite them to the Middle Georgia Dog Pound page. We'd love to hear from you. Join into the discussion, and we will see you guys next week. We come back to recount the win against the Missouri Tigers. Look forward to talking to you, and go Dogs!
Go Dogs!
Oh.